Price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for August 28, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great evening and ready for another wild day. The NVIDIA report happened, and oh my goodness, a little bit of drama on that, but it honestly wasn't too bad. Beat on the top and bottom line, just a little bit disappointing, I guess, in some of the China sales, and it is holding up in here pretty flat. But I think this is indicative of one of the things that's going on here in the market. One of the reasons we've been seeing beats on the top and bottom line and stocks falling is we've priced these stocks at or near perfection, and when you get any kind of stumble, then we have this issue going on. Valuations are extremely high, and our market valuation right now, as of yesterday, is also back up extremely high. We'll look at that in just a moment. So what happened overnight? Well, apparently, we didn't have the same kind of enthusiasm on NVIDIA around the world. Australian markets went up $19.50 or 0.22%. Hong Kong fell 202.94.81%. South Korea was up $9.16 or 0.20%. The Nikkei flying back up yesterday, 308.52 or 0.73%, while India was down 211.15 at 0.85%. Shanghai came back up 43.24, 1.14% overnight. Let's take a look at what is happening in Europe this morning. Europe is mostly lower at the moment, but modestly lower. We've got the DAX down $18.22 at 0.08%. FTSE at the moment down 44.29 or 0.48%. And the CAC is still working its way back up after the worry about governments in France. $18.26 higher by 0.24%. If we take a look at U.S. futures this morning, well, U.S. futures have been fluctuating around here a little bit this morning, trying to digest everything, but honestly, very modest in what's happening here at the moment. Right now, YM futures or Dow futures are up $62 even. We've got the S&P 500 futures up $1.50. And we've got NASDAQ futures down $6.50 here this morning. So let's take a look at other markets here and how things are going. We've got this morning a little bit of, well, kind of interesting in the bonds. We're seeing the 30-year bond that's holding in there pretty solidly while we've got the 2-year coming down. Right now, the 2-year bond is at 3.62%. The 10-year is coming in at 4.23%. And that 30-year bond is holding in there at 4.91% here this morning. Now, as a result, we've got a little bit of weakness following through today in the US dollar. We tried to go up yesterday, ended up with kind of a shooting star pattern at price resistance here, and now following through to the downside here today. Right now we've got the dollar futures down almost 28 cents here this morning. Resulting action in here is we've got gold moving back higher here this morning. Right now, gold futures at this very second are up $3.70 an ounce. trying to break out of this little downtrend here on GLD, so keep an eye on that. $3,452 an ounce. Silver this morning is also higher. Silver is making a nice move, as a matter of fact, up 35 cents here this morning, $39.56 an ounce, and we're trying to break out up here and might head back up here toward these highs here in silver, so keep an eye on that. Copper this morning is just a little bit higher. If we look at copper miners here yesterday, whoops, there we go. Oh, come on. I can type, really, I can. COPX popped and dropped yesterday, but we're reversing it here this morning with copper right now up less than a penny, but moving to the upside here on those miners. Mining has just been incredibly strong, and you can just see the bullishness in that chart as we continue to push through to the upside. Platinum is flat and just a little bit higher here today. Just a tremendous consolidation in here popping around on platinum. But as you can see right now, we're up $8.90 an ounce in platinum. And palladium this morning up $14.50, still struggling with price resistance and downtrend. Really a pattern that could drive more shorting here in palladium. Let's take a look at how cryptos are reacting here this morning. We've got Bitcoin moving on up here this morning. Bitcoin up $982 a coin, pushing back into some resistance area here in the chart. That weakening dollar helping out Bitcoin here just a bit. If we take a look at Ether, we're moving up here as well, of 41.89 a coin, or 0.90%, looking very bullish here. This is a really bullish upside trend, bullish pattern in there, and I would stay with that guy to the upside as well. How about we take a look at what's happening in the oil markets? Well, even as we saw yesterday, not very good numbers in our supply numbers here in the U.S. We are still showing weakness here in oil. We've got oil futures this morning down 22 cents. We are coming in at 63.92 a barrel. If we look at USO was up here yesterday trying to pop through this resistance. Now we're just kind of flat in there this morning. Brent crude is coming in at 67.77 a barrel, and natural gas, after popping back up yesterday, trying to get a little bit of a follow through, up about a penny here this morning. Obviously, this has got a lot of work to do before that becomes any kind of a bullish chart in natural gas. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up and let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Before we dive into these index charts, hey, I want to remind everyone that there will not be a Morning Market Prep video tomorrow. I am traveling and will be gone. And also, just for those of you that might not be aware, Monday the market is closed with the Labor Day holiday. So I'm sure most people know that, but every once in a while, those Monday holidays sneak up on me, and I didn't realize that we were going to be off, so I thought I would pass that along here today. But I will be gone, so hey, I want to wish you all a great holiday, great 3-day weekend. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit longer for me here, so I will be gone tomorrow. There will not be a Morning Market Prep. So I apologize about that. I'm sure everyone will do just fine without me. But let's take a look at what's going on with these index charts. And remember, we want to look at these charts without bias. We want to focus in on what the possibilities are here and what that market looks like. Well, first off, when we take a look at the Dow, it's impossible to look at that chart and see any bearishness at all. I'm trying to pop up here this morning that pre-market gap up where we're going to get a new record here in the Dow this morning. And now we're starting to slip. Right now, Dow futures are only up 39 points. So let's keep an eye on that here today. How this progresses could be pretty interesting with some big data coming our way today. But this is a very, very bullish chart. And if we get some good positive data today, every reason to believe new record highs in the Dow. Fridays have typically been pretty bullish. So if we can get any kind of hold in here today, we might get a push out there on Friday. So watch that carefully here. But if the bears were to have anything to say and they were to push back, well, we can see right in through here, we got a little bit of price support that we'll want to be watching. If we were to slip back into there, there's really nothing wrong with that. We could pull back, and still not really cause any technical damage in the chart. It would be if we had that big ugly pullback in here that would break us down below this area. That's where we would have some problems. But for now, nothing in that chart suggests that's going to occur. So bulls are definitely in control here in the diamonds. If we take a look at our SPY, trying to gap up here this morning as well, trying to make those new record highs. Yesterday we popped some new record highs and faded back. Keep an eye on that. We'll see if that little bit of turmoil in NVIDIA can hold up here this morning and keep things moving to the top side, because I suspect we could have other tech stocks running into trouble as well if NVIDIA starts to fall. But watch that carefully in here. Breaking through new record highs here at the open, as long as that holds. If the bulls can continue to push to the upside, blue sky above. That's all there is to it, blue sky above. We're extremely bullish here in the market and a very bullish upside pattern. If the bears were to have anything to say, however, and we were to push back down below here, I don't see that as being a problem at all. I mean, just a push back into here, we might come back into some price support here in the chart, but we're still in the upside trend. So wouldn't be out of the question that we could pull back and rest in here and still see that upside move coming in the market. So I don't see any major problems at all with this. If we were to break on down through here, again, I don't think we run into any kind of major issues unless we were to break this area of price support in the chart. And if that were the case, yeah, obviously we've got some problems on our hands. The QQQ is going to be the most interesting here, I think, at the moment, because we still have that potential. We could be facing that head and shoulders type pattern here in the chart. And the NVIDIA report that just kind of didn't really get a whole lot of life in it, that still plays into that possibility. So we'll want to watch that pretty closely. If we can get some bullish action in here to break back up through here and get that proof that we can hold up in here, then I think we could start progressing on up and be back up here trying to attack all-time highs in the QQQ. If, however, those bears do have anything to say and they were to push down, you can see right here, if we were to break down through this area right there, that's going to raise a little bit of concern on the QQQ. Breaking down below here and losing that white candle right there would probably start picking up a little bit of fear. And if we take out that low, yeah, that's where some problems are really going to start creeping up here in the market. So watch that carefully here on the Qs. We could go both directions. Right now the market's very bullish, so I have a reason to believe we can push right on through to the upside. but at the same time, this is the area that we're going to have to watch pretty closely. Now, when we look at the Russell, boy, there's no way to look at this chart with any kind of bearishness. That big stretch white candle there, we just rested a little bit. I mentioned that pattern that's called a mat hold, and that mat hold playing through to the upside, pushing up through here. So we're going to start stretching up here toward these highs in IWM. IWM is lagged way behind here in the market, and it's doing some catch up here now. So next resistance levels maybe up in this area are what we'll want to watch for. So I'm just going to grab one of these lines and drag it up here. Somewhere up in here we could catch a little bit of price resistance, so watch that carefully as we continue to extend here in IWM. Now if we look at our VIX yesterday just held a tiny little bit higher, just a tiny little bit higher. We didn't have any major worries or concerns on NVIDIA. But obviously there is still a little bit of worry on NVIDIA and kind of price to perfection. So watch that carefully here today. If the bulls have anything to say, then a push back down into here is where I'd be watching. And I think there's every reason to believe we can make some new lows here in the VIX, particularly by the end of the week, if we can shake this off and we don't have data today that upsets the apple cart. Now, looking in here, if the bears were to have anything to say and we were to push back up, you do want to notice we've got that little tiny trend there to the upside. If those bears were to push today, pushing us back up here toward this resistance area, probably no worries there. It would be if we push above that downtrend that we might see a little bit of fear coming into the market. So watch that carefully on the VIX. Now, if we take a look at our T2122 indicator, this is a problem for us right now. We have stretched and stretched and stretched, and we've stretched on relatively low volume here the last couple of days. And you can see that pushing back up here, we are in the bearish reversal zone here on the day. So if the bulls can find inspiration to continue to push, well, there's not much space for them to move. Remember, we cannot go above 100 the way this is calculated. Doesn't mean we can't have some bullish upside in the market, but we're going to tap out here probably pretty quick, completely extended in T2122. That means that if the bears find anything to attack on, we've got a big downside opportunity for them. So make sure you have a plan to protect yourself if those bears were to get going here. A little bit of pullback like we had the other day, no problem. But if we were to really start pounding this lower, it could move quickly, and make sure you have a plan in there to protect yourself. Our T2108 ended up, we struggled here for a long time, but there at the end of the day, we started picking this up and turning this positive. So T2108, very, very positive, breaking through that 60% area here in the chart. Just remember, if they can continue to push as we stretch up here toward that 65 here in the middle and 70% up here, we're starting to reach that very frothy area here in T2108, where we have for the last couple of years we get up into that range and we're so frothy that we end up pulling back. So watch that carefully. But you've got to admit this is a nice upside trend, and if the bears were to have anything to say, pushing back into these areas of price support, we've got plenty of support to hold here in T2108. So a modest pullback would relieve some of that buy pressure, and then we could see some more upside coming in the market pretty easily. At T2107, nice little modest increase in that as well. Continuing to push up here. We are nearly at 55%. You'll notice in here we're going to run into lots of price congestion here on T2107. Still in a very, very bullish trend. If we can push on through that area, just kind of keeping in mind that once we get up here in that 60 up towards 65%, we're in an extremely frothy area of T2107. So last couple years, you can see we get up in here and we can't really get through. So we're really priced to our market to some pretty good perfection here in our indexes. So watch that carefully. If the bears do get any energy and start pushing back, that could move us pretty sharply. Watch this carefully right in here, though. We've got a good area of price support. Pulling back into there would mean nothing at all if we had a little modest rest, and then we can gear up and see if we can push on higher. Just watch that closely. Our T2101 continued to expand yesterday, despite the fact that our overall volume was pretty light here on the day. So bulls are definitely in control. We'll want to see that continue. If we see a breath on here starting to fall as we rally up, and I think that might be a possibility, just simply because we're running out of that bullish energy. Everything is really high priced, and we're coming into some economic data that could possibly create a little bit of volatility for us today. So watch that carefully. Bulls are definitely in control. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here today to go over what I have been talking about. On that economic calendar today, we're going to get the GDP report. Now, GDP expectation is for an increase, that we're seeing our GDP grow, which is interesting considering the fact that everywhere analysts are telling us the world's coming to an end. But we just continue to see these numbers improve. Now, if the analysts happen to be right and we miss on this and we see this go lower, well, watch carefully, because I think we could see a market pull back pretty quickly if that were to occur. If we continue to see this growth and improvement here in GDP, then hey, we can continue to stretch and push to the upside here, because the economy seems to be clicking along here pretty good despite the tariffs. If we take a look at jobless claims, the jobless claims are looking for just a little modest decrease here from 235 to 230. Again, don't think that's going to be a major problem if it comes in like that. But remember, these numbers can provide some volatility. And the fact that we're really stretched up here right now, we could still get good numbers and bring in a little bit of selling if those bears start to attack. So watch that carefully here on those. Corporate profit numbers will be out today. No consensus on that. Just have to go off of the priors of 8.7 and 5.5. Watch that closely. We've got pending home sales that will be in here this morning. Pending home sales are looking to improve to a 0.2 from a negative 0.8. So here again, we're seeing these consumers be very strong despite the fact, all the gloom and doom that they keep telling us from the analyst side of the market. So watch that carefully. That could help inspire the market as well. We've got a natural gas report in here. We've got a Kansas City Fed manufacturing number. Now, Kansas City Fed last time was a 1, but we kind of ignore manufacturing right now. If we take a look at bond auctions, we've got a 4-week, an 8-week, and a 7-year Fed balance sheet, and then Waller will be speaking. Just kind of keep in mind, after we get past this morning, everyone's probably going to be thinking about this. And I'm not talking about international trade in goods. That is a market moving number, but you can see they're looking for that to be at a negative 87.7, a little bit higher than the negative 86 of last time. But this is the number that we'll want to be watching. Personal incomes and outlays. We already know Jerome Powell has kind of given the market the nod that there may be a rate cut coming in September. This number is going to be critical. If we see these numbers come up, and you can see they're suggesting personal income up from 0.3 to 0.4. We're seeing personal consumption up from 0.3 to 0.5. That's a good thing. When we start getting into these core PCE numbers, that's where things could get a little bit weird for us. If we see these starting to creep up, and you can see the year over year, they're expecting that to move to 2.9. If they start getting some feeling that this is rising a little bit stronger, that could remove that opportunity of that rate cut. Market would be disappointed in that. If these numbers come in less than expected, look for the market to celebrate. Could be a good one on Friday. So I'm not going to be here, but watch that one closely. That could be a market moving event depending on how that reports tomorrow. But we'll barely get through this stuff, and we're going to be thinking about that. So being so elevated in the market, don't be too surprised if we end up with a little bit of choppy, hurry up and wait kind of day as we wait on that big Friday number. Let's take a look at the earnings calendar here today, and we've got a little bit going on here in the earnings calendar today. This is one of the last days with a pretty interesting hurrah in here. So grab a screenshot of this. I won't be able to cover all of them here this morning, but watch that closely. We've got some good reports here. I'll just cover a couple here this morning. Things like Best Buy reporting here today, trying to move a little bit higher. A lot of retail in here. Dollar General reporting that this morning with a really good pop. We've got LI in there going south, and Victoria's Secret going higher here this morning. So keep an eye on some of those here today. And then after the bell, stocks you want to be paying attention to would be like ADSK. ADSK and Dell. Those could inspire some movement in the market. Marvel will be in there, and Ulta Beauty. Certainly worth paying attention to here going into the end of the day. So let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone. It takes the time to do that. I really, really, truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at Google here. I've been mentioning Google and Alphabet is a beautiful little setup. And I said, and I think this is still true, that NVIDIA could have some impacts here on Google and how this performs. So watch that carefully in here with NVIDIA not really shaking the tree too hard today. Watch this carefully. I think there is that opportunity. We might see Google stretch on through to the upside. Beautiful little chart. I think what I would do is, instead of just watching it all day long, I'd just place a price alert up here and wait and see if that pops, and then look for a potential entry into Google or Alphabet, whichever one you would prefer. Both looking very, very good. We've got some other tech out there that still getting upgrades, that kind of thing. Analysts are continuing to push it pretty hard, but I would be a little bit cautious here with AMD. AMD, we have kind of a double top pattern up here, as you can see, kind of topping out, and then this little consolidation in here looks to me like that bear flag that could push us lower. If we were to slip off of this area of price support, watch that carefully here on AMD. So I think right now you've got to be really choosy with the tech stocks that you might get involved in. A lot of volatility could occur if we start to slip here just a tiny little bit. Let's take a look at some of these stocks out here like Lowe's. Lowe's, beautiful chart. Anything in that material sector has been really good. So you can look at XLB, but but low's looking very good, and I think setting up here for that next upside move. We just need that little bit of bullishness to kick in here to start pushing that guy to the upside. Home Depot, same thing. Home Depot's looking pretty strong in here. Nice little resting pattern in that pattern. 3 inside days inside a big candle like this sets up what they call the mat hold pattern. Sometimes it's not perfect and it doesn't happen immediately, but watch that carefully in here. That opportunity that might stretch right on through to the upside looks like a possibility there on Home Depot. I continue to mention Seagate, and I keep trying to repeat over and over in this, guys. When you see these nice little resting consolidations near trend, near support, watch those carefully, because in a bullish market like this, they just play out in a very high probability of making money. And so watch that carefully here. As you can see, STX has made that move through the upside. Little rest, little consolidation. Could set up that next opportunity there. Same thing was true with WDC, just stretching on through that nice little resting consolidation. I call them a pop out of the box, but a little resting pullback in there would set up possibly that next upside in there on that chart. As you guys remember, I started mentioning rig here again on that big push on Friday, reversing this breakdown in here so strongly. I did pick up some rig yesterday, so I have a little bias on this, but what I'm looking at here is just a really long downtrend that's really starting to reverse to the upside. So keep an eye on that, getting a little bit of pullback in here with oil coming down here today. But remember, this president wants to drill, and I think there is some pretty good benefits here possibly for rig. So watch that carefully here. If this can hold in this pattern, may have some upside opportunity there. Take a look at some of the uranium plays in here. Boy, UEC broke down here, came right back up, holding in this area. I would watch this carefully. All we need is a little bit of bullish push, and I think we could see that UEC stretch on through. I will not be surprised if it has to rest a little bit more in here, but keep an eye on that. Take a look at URA. URA also crossing back up through that resistance, trying to hold in here. Just look for that next opportunity to the upside. That's looking pretty darn good overall. And I would keep an eye on some of these banks. Citibank doing really well, pushing on up through resistance here in the chart. Watch that carefully. I think we could see some of these banks continue to stretch on higher. Goldman Sachs has been looking good, stretching up here. Keep an eye on some of those, looking very, very good overall. Boeing, aerospace defense, picking up here, breaking through the top side of that wedge. A little rest in here, and then I would look for that push on through to the upside in that. And you can take a look at like RTX in that aerospace defense area, looking really good after that good pop in here this week, breaking through that resistance, trying to stretch on through. Keep an eye on some of those aerospace and defense stocks out there. And I got to tell you, there's so many more for me to go over, but I'm running out of time here. You all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day. Wish you all of the best, and more importantly, a great 3-day weekend upcoming while I'm gone. Wish you and your family a great time. So I will see you guys next week. You all take care. Have a great day, and I wish you all the best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail, trading with heart where the profits prevail.